Hello everyone, this is Nicole. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I have a quick video, well not quick video, but a little bit of a long video and quick comparison on two different watercolor brands that I've been trying recently. One is from Shinhan and these are called Professional Watercolor Set. The other one is from Mijello and these are called Gold Mission Watercolor Set. And they are about the same price range, so I thought it would be a perfect one to kind of compare it side by side, and they're both manufactured in South Korea. And they have been well loved in South Korean market, and I'm sure that some of you already heard of the Gold Mission brand, but you may not heard of the Shinhan brand. So maybe this would be a helpful video for you to kind of check both of them out. And these are pretty affordable, budget friendly watercolor tube set if you're looking into invest in a set before you get into any higher quality like Daniel Smith. So hopefully you find this helpful. So I placed an order at Amazon.com for both watercolor set. I wanted to see how they compare with each other and how difference of a color range they have. So I thought it would be a fun one to share with you. I will link everything I'm sharing below on a description box, so make sure you check out those if you want to try them out. And you can also go to my website for close-up videos. So the Shinhan watercolor set comes in 32 colors. These are 32 color set and they are a professional grade. And you can see that they come in a silver tube with a white label with their colors on it. It's very clean and minimal look design. And on the tubes you can see that they have information about the colors, what group they are, the light fastness, and if they're transparent or not transparent, or if they're opaque or semi-transparent. You can kind of see a quick at a glance information right on this tube. So there's different language for each name of the color, so you can check those out as well. For the Gold Mission, it comes in a gold tube. I think that's why it's called Gold Mission, right? And the labels have the colors. They look a little bit different than the Shinhan one, but I think the box itself and the packaging itself feels a little bit more luxurious than the Shinhan one. The colors and the informations are written on the label pretty much in a similar way as the Shinhan one, but you can see that they have the Gold Mission label on the top and then the color label right below it and the gold tube body, all over the area. So on the label, you will see the name on the very bottom and the color series, and they have a little bit more of an explanation about the staining and the transparency and also the light fastness information on the top portion of the label. So you can easily see those informations on the tube itself. So they're both individually marked and labeled, and you can see the information that they're sharing on the tube itself. So before we actually get into the color testing and comparison for each set, I wanted to share how I set up my palette for the first time for these two colors. So these are my first tube shaped watercolor or tube type watercolors. I've been using the pan style that already assembled and came out as a set, so I didn't really need to set up a colors like that before. And I've been also using the Peerless sheet, which I don't really need to set up a palette for that either. So I just wanted to kind of quickly set up my palette, and I quickly just squeezed out each color on my palette by the row that came in the set itself. And on the palette itself, I kind of did a zigzag mode. So right from left to right, and then the second row is right to left, and the third row is left to right, so that you have a little bit of an easier way for me to kind of see the transition of the color that way. And notice that I am not filling each section of the palette completely with my colors. I only squeezed my colors to maybe the halfway to each section of the palette. That way I don't have to have a lot of amount already squeezed out and sitting on my palette, because I like to work with fresh colors if I can, or fresh squeezed out pigments if I could. So the less amount I squeeze out on my palette, the better for me, because I'll have more chance or shorter time frame for me to switch out those and squeeze out new ones to add more pigments for those missing areas. And also, for a lot of watercolor artists that has been watercoloring for a long time, they tend to mix up brands here and there. So they could have 5 brands from Winsor & Newton, or 5 brands from Daniel Smith, or 5 brands from Mission Gold, Gold Mission by Mijello. So if you want to switch up the brands here and there, then you can easily set up that way. So by having a less squeezed amount of watercolors, that means I can later on use all of them and then set up my brand new customized colors with a mixed brand. So I didn't want to squeeze out all the way. So earlier you saw me squeeze out all the watercolors from the Shinhan watercolor set, and now this one is a Mijello Gold Mission set, and you can see that I am just squeezing about half. So I squeeze it and then go zigzag a little bit for about 2-3 times, and then you'll have enough for to fill out half of the palette for each section. So these palette is from Mijello. I'm using the same one for both brand, and they have 33 wells. And since Shinhan has 32 colors, that wasn't a problem, but this Gold Mission has 34 colors in a set. So I just squeezed the last one on the bottom portion of the palette where you're supposed to mix the colors together. So I just squeezed on the corner, and I just need to be careful when using that colors later on. So I just wanted to quickly share. I love this palette because the bottom tray comes out completely, and the top tray where the colors are, that one come out too. So if you do not want to open up the palette all the way and you only want to work with a color, you can just take out the wells and lift the tray up, and then you can just work with that. It's really cool, very budget friendly in my opinion. So you can see the bottom one comes out, and I'm going to kind of show you how these work together. So I let these dry overnight after I squeeze them, and I'm coming back to my studio to kind of show you how I create my swatch. That way you can kind of see how the colors work in the first hand. And this is my very first time playing with them and testing out the colors. And I'm going to create a swatch. The longer piece one is for the palette itself, and the smaller piece one is for my swatch collection. Notice that on the top right corner of each section in the swatch, there is a black dot, and that is from the Sharpie. I just added a dot really quick and then added a number next to it. So the dot will tell me if the color is transparent or if it's semi-transparent, and the number right next to it tells me the light fastness, and that is actually from the label of each watercolor tube from the company. So they determined it on their own to see the level of the light fastness and added that on the label. So I just quickly add the colors on my swatch so I can quickly see it. And obviously on the bottom says the name of the color. So I'm going to quickly add one layer of each color on my palette swatch, and also I'll be adding that onto my 2x3 swatch cards, and this will tell me a full color collection that I have from all the brands that I have and will have later on if I decide to add any more brands onto my collection. And I can have a range of colors, and I can quickly reference it later on. And I'll explain more in detail later in this video. But you can see that I am filling out one section and then filling out the 2x3 card at the same time. And notice that I am skipping a section in the same row. This is to allow the colors to fully dry before I add in the color right next to their spot, and this prohibits the colors mixing in with each other so that you can truly see what this color is. And I did make a mistake later on in the video, or in when I was making the swatch, which I will show you in a few seconds. But this way you can completely let them dry and not have any mixing or mixed color, so that it has a little bit of dirtiness to it. Like over there, like on the bottom corner with the purples and the blues and the pink, that I didn't let that completely dry, so I did get the colors mixed in a little bit. But as you can see that some colors doesn't have the dot in a really clear way, so that shows you if that's transparent or not transparent. You can find the same information with the 2x3 swatch cards that I did for my inventory reference. So these colors show whether if they're transparent or not and how of a staining level they have. Meaning when you look at the left of my swatch cards, you can see that there's a little bit of streak, right? Going top to down. And what I did is I completely let the colors dry after I fill in each swatch cards, and I came back to each sheet with a clear or clean brush with a clean water, and I just kind of went down and did a streak on the left portion. And that kind of shows you how much the colors stain, and you will see better in my swatch photos that I'll show you in a few seconds. But over here, let me share a couple tests that I did. So this is a layering test that I did. I wanted to see how clear they layer on top of each other. So I laid down yellow, let that dry, and added orange, let that dry, and added red. And you can see that the Gold Mission is a little bit more clear than the Shinhan brand. And this one is a wet on wet technique, meaning I lay down the yellow without allowing it to dry. I went back to the surface with orange and then added red on top of it. And you can see how they kind of mix each other. And also you can see how bold and bright the Gold Mission is compared to Shinhan. So if I were to give you a quick and simplified answer to see which one is better, I'm not really sure. But I will tell you this. If you like a softer look and more of a muted feel of a color, go with Shinhan brand. If you want a pop of color, bright boldness with a clear result, go with Gold Mission. I think watercolor is really different person to person, so it is important for each person to test out different brands and find the one that they really like and work great for the results they're aiming for. So I'm looking forward to testing out more brands in the future, doing the swatches, doing the testing of the staining level, the light fastness, and the transparency, and figure out what works really well for me. And I could take out a few different colors from each brand and put together my own customized palette that really works for me and I like, so I can always go to those colors. So this video was to kind of give you a background information for you to see how those two brands work in their own colors and in their own properties when it comes to those watercolor tubes. And hopefully you have a little bit more of an understanding before getting into these watercolor products. But definitely, if you want to know more about these and if you want me to do more videos on these, please leave me a comment below and ask me questions, and I will test these out for you and I will do a further investigation or further comparison video so that you can have a little bit more of a knowledge on these. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really hope you did. If you did, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment below. And if you're new to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing because it means a lot to me. All the products that I talked about today are listed below, and you can check out a few different shops. And if you want to see more close-up photos on these swatches and color comparison, please visit my blog at scrapsandstems.com. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this video. I will come back with another video tutorial later on. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.